you may think that receipts are just innocent pieces of paper that have no effect on your health, but you would be wrong. Those receipts you're touching every day are actually poisoning your body with BPA, so you better stop touching them. According to a review, BPA has been shown to play a role in the pathogenesis of several endocrine disorders, including female and male infertility, precocious puberty, hormone-dependent tumors such as breast and prostate cancer, and several metabolic disorders including polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS. I'm Jared Payne, a student of health and nutrition, and today I'll be going over the scientific research on BPA and receipts. I was inspired to look into this topic after reading Dr. Anthony Jay's book, Estrogeneration. To begin with, why is there a poison in our receipts? What evil genius came up with that? What is its purpose? Bjornsdotter and colleagues note, in thermal paper, also known as receipt paper, BPA is used as a color developer, which reacts with a luso dye to form a visible color upon application of heat or pressure. BPA is present as its free, unreacted monomer and is thus expected to be easily transferred into the environment. BPA is needed to print what's on the receipt and is on the receipt in a form that allows it to easily transfer to something else, such as your skin. The authors also note that BPA has been reported in thermal paper in concentrations up to 42,600 micrograms per gram of paper. According to a study by Gaines, up to 2.1% of the weight of the receipts they tested was BPA, a result reported in other international studies. The EU standard limit for cash receipts is 0.02% of the weight. In other words, there can be lots of BPA on receipts. And when there's not BPA, there's BPS, which is pretty much the same thing. Schmidt and colleagues mention other investigators in small studies in the United States, Canada, and Italy have measured BPS in approximately half of store receipts sampled from actual stores. Gaines and colleagues state that in their study, a significant negative correlation was observed between BPS and BPA concentration in thermal paper receipts. This means that if you're not being poisoned by one, you're being poisoned by the other. BPA and BPS are the most common, but there are other, probably toxic alternatives that could be in receipts, such as other bisphenols like BPF, and D8 and Pergafast 201. For simplicity, I'll just say BPA, but I could be talking about those other ones as well. Now that we've established that there is BPA in receipts, let's go over the most important part, which is how and how much we absorb BPA into our bodies. Weiderman and colleagues determined that the amount of BPA transferred into the skin after holding a receipt for 5 seconds was between 0.2 and 6 micrograms of BPA, with an average of 1.1 microgram per finger. If the fingers were wet or greasy, the rate of transfer was approximately 10 times higher. Repeated contact with virgin recorder paper did not result in a significant increase in BPA on the skin. Weiderman and colleagues could not conclude whether BPA passed through the skin into the metabolism, but found that BPA can enter the skin to such a depth that it can no longer be washed off. This BPA can eventually migrate deeper to reach the body fluids. Vectors such as ethanol or hand cream can increase the permeability of the skin and enhance the penetration of BPA. To summarize this quote that I've just read from a study, the BPA from receipts does absorb into our skin and eventually our blood. We can only have so much on our skin at one time, and our fingers being wet, greasy, or having lotion or hand sanitizer on them increases how much we absorb. Proof that BPA travels through our skin was confirmed by Braun and colleagues, who reported high levels of urinary BPA of cashiers, a group of the population which might have a frequent skin contact with BPA-containing thermal paper. Those poor cashiers. Now, there seems to be something particularly sinister about absorbing BPA through the skin, as opposed to the diet. Researchers reported that dermal absorption of BPA resulted in longer systemic circulation than dietary exposure in a study of 6 male participants. After manual handling of receipts, urinary excretion of BPA increased linearly for 2 days, and some participants still had detectable BPA levels after 1 week. In contrast, the same group cleared all dietary BPA within 24 hours. This shows that dermally absorbed BPA makes up for its small quantity through its ability to hang around the body longer. In the worst case scenario, where you're frequently touching the most contaminated receipt paper with all of your fingers for 10 hours a day, you may absorb 41 micrograms a day of BPA, or even 240 micrograms a day, depending on whose estimate you go with. For the general population, however, Liao and Conan estimated skin absorption of BPA from receipts to be 17.5 nanograms a day. Deans and colleagues, on the other hand, estimate 445 nanograms per day, so estimates do vary widely. It's important to note, however, that the fraction of BPA that may be ingested after hand-to-mouth or hand-to-food contact was not taken into account in these estimations. Katun and colleagues conclude that the presence of BPA or BPS on receipts indicates a high health risk to the user. Indeed, studies have found that BPA, even at a low dose, can cause adverse endocrine disruptive effects and carcinogenic effects on breast cancer, suggesting the significance of identifying all potential sources of human exposure. The amount of BPA in receipts is no joke. And it doesn't end there. According to Bjorn's doctor and colleagues, receipts could also be a potential source for human exposure and environmental contamination of other chemicals, such as UV stabilizers, biocides, and chlorinated derivatives that might also be present. So it's not just BPA you need to worry about. And it's not only receipts that contain BPA, but there's so many other paper products that do as well. These can include the recycled paper, flyers, parking tickets, newspapers, paper currency, food contact papers, food cartons, napkins, paper towels, toilet paper, lottery slips, business cards, copy and printing paper, and luggage tags. These other things, however, contain significantly less BPA than receipts, 3 to 4 orders of magnitude less to be exact. Nevertheless, the presence of BPA and BPS in such a wide variety of everyday use products could be significant for the overall human exposure. They contain BPA either because they use it for printing, they rub up against things that contain it, or they are made with recycled BPA-containing paper. There's just no escape from it. As promised, I will explain and demonstrate the best way to pick up a receipt. Best case scenario, when you need to pick one up, you will have gloves on. You could also pick up the receipt using tongs. You probably keep a mini pair on you for this. Probably shouldn't put it in your pocket directly, however, the receipt that is, as you may absorb the BPA through the fabric of your pants, but sometimes you need to pick your battles. Although, you could have a plastic bag on you to put the receipt in, and that would eliminate the exposure potentiality. In the worst case scenario, you need to pick up the receipt with your bare hand. If you're going to do this, pick it up with only the tips of 2 fingers, briefly, and make sure your hands are dry. Afterwards, don't touch your mouth or food, and don't use hand sanitizer as you leave the store, but do wash your hands to wipe off the BPA before it absorbs too deeply. And that's our deal with receipts. But if you don't need the receipt, don't take it. Although touching receipts is such a common practice, it has the potential to be toxic for your body. This isn't some crazy theory, as there are an abundance of scientific evidence showing that receipts are contaminated by BPA and that this does in fact absorb into your skin. Personally, I've always gotten strange sensations in my fingers when I have touched a receipt, and now I know why. The next time your friend reaches for a receipt, slap his hand down. You've just saved his fertility. If you thought this video was valuable and would like to support me, smash that like button, subscribe, share, and tell me in the comments about your experience with receipts and your opinion on them. The more you help my channel, the more we can help the world become healthier. Make the healthy choice, especially when you don't feel like it.